Greetings, graduating class of 2020, and welcome to another tradition upended by the coronavirus. I hope you appreciate the irony in a class year that indicates perfect vision, coupled with the senior spring semester. It's wound up being such a blur. I know that Zoom rhymes with doom. We're all sick of staring at our computer screens. I got to tell you, as desperate as Zoom meetings are, being the only participant in one is even more depressing. But I do have a special guest. Before we get to the awarding of books, we got some other awards coming up. I've got a special guest that I know you'll all want to see. Let me call her over here just a sec.
Hi, everyone. I am here today to announce the long haul recipients. The first one is, these are students that have been here from kindergarten straight through. The first one is Carter Andrew, Kat Belode, Deanna Banuelos, Nikki Borland, Charlotte Botenhagen, Rowan Borg, Gary Bush, Toe Carmola, Cameron Creel, Morgan Dahl, Guillermo Flores, Max Garais, Brenda Gutierrez, Rafa Gutierrez, Thomas Hatcher, Christian Hilbert, Jesse Homan, Ambra Jacobson, Jonah Jadlowski, Caden Katz, Noah Kohari, Bryce Lambert, Caroline Lucarelli, Cami Mazaki, Nick Mesa Denisick, Lindsay Osborne, Garrett Pekala, Danica Pettit, Rock Rapola, Maddie Richard, Grace Ringstadt, Justine Sherry, Peter Spencer, Linnea Taylor, Emily Velasco, Johnny Wilcox, and Shannon Wazinski.
That's a lot. I think that's probably why this is such a terrific class. Let me pause this here. So thank you, Sharon, for that. Again, I'm sorry if this doesn't take place on the Palm stage. You should have your moms there with a catered dinner, a decorated stage, lots of books, awards, and whatnot. But I do have a lot of books, and I'm looking forward to giving them out to you. I'll try to talk really fast because there's a lot of you, and that's a lot of books and a lot of descriptions. So I want to, as I've noted in the inscription of each of these books, I got a little note in there so you can have a record of my lovely handwriting. They're for all of your teachers, not just me. This is a tradition I've inherited. These books represent our collective desire for you guys to be lifelong learners. And I know of no way to continue learning than to continue reading. I'm just a guy who's lucky enough to get to pick out most of these books. I've received a lot of recommendations from my colleagues. But here too, the pandemic has kind of disrupted the normal process. In years past, I've typically been out in the Bay Area on spring break when I always head over to Moe's Books, this wonderful emporium, 5 stories of new and used books, and enjoy getting to wander the aisles and pick out books. In fact, when I was an undergrad at Berkeley, a couple of buddies of mine had a habit of at least once a month, I think that's all they'd let us do it. We'd head down to the Plasma Center, which was right down from Moe's. We'd sell a pint of blood for $10, and that was generally enough for a 40 of Miller High Life and at least 2 or 3 books from Moe's. We were young and pretentious, but we liked the idea of buying our books with blood. It's how much reading meant to us then. It's how much it means to me now. So anyway, without, I got to start off by thanking Diva and Bobby, but between the covers, they've been super helpful. I haven't been able to wander the aisles of used bookstores and new bookstores, so I've had to rely on a number of old favorites. So let me get a stack of books ready to go, and we'll start handing them out. With COVID-19 in the air, both literally and figuratively, I couldn't help but dip into a long list of really great pandemic reading. Starting with, Michael Crichton. I'm going to switch the screen here so these books aren't back. I mean, that should be better. Sorry. Dylan's spent a lot of time sleeping for the last 8 weeks. It seems every time he manages to log onto a Zoom meeting, he's still in bed. So I wanted to give him a thriller that would keep him up all night, turning the pages. And this book, Michael Crichton's The Andromeda Strain, should do just that. This is a terrific, fun read. It involves a space probe that's collecting, extraterrestrial organisms, crashes to Earth, and this small Arizona town is in big trouble. It's a fun read. It's by the guy who wrote Jurassic Park, and Dylan, I hope you have a good time with it. Henry is a super resourceful guy, the kind of guy you want around when it was, post-apocalyptic. So I picked out for him probably one of Stephen King's best novels. It involves this virus, Captain Trips, that wipes out 99% of the population. And one of the protagonists, one of the 1% survivors who's gathering people together, just is so resourceful, so MacGyver-like, that he reminded me of Henry. So Henry, I got you Stephen King's The Stand. I hope you enjoy it. Neda has always struck me as an unabashed romantic. And I wanted to introduce her to one of my favorite Latin American authors, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And I love his 100 Years of Solitude. But again, given this time of pandemic, I thought she'd like this Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Great romance, great love story. And of course, I got cholera too. So unfortunately, because the celebration was pushed up by a few days, I'm still waiting on a couple of titles. So I don't have a copy in hand of this next one, which is for Rafa. He and Mariam seem to have a real love of fantasy. So I want to get Rafa. This is a first book in a trilogy that contains every post-apocalyptic virus and vampire cliche you can think of. It's Justin Cronin's The Passage. Plus, coincidentally, the first volume in the series ends with these monsters coming up from down valley and heading, I'm not sure why, to Telluride. So generic book. Sorry, Rafa, but I hope you enjoy it. Hope you enjoy reading all three of them. Next, Max is such a terrific actor. We've all really appreciated his time on stage. So I wanted to choose a book for him that gives some hope in the midst of a pandemic. This is another super flu. It's actually cool. The book goes back and forth between pre and post-pandemic or post-apocalyptic times. And it involves, this is why I got it from Max, it involves this troupe of actors and musicians who travel around amongst the remaining survivors, reminding them of the importance of art and the hope for humanity. So Max, I got you Emily St. John Mandel's Station 11, and I hope you enjoy it. This next book's actually subtitled A Novel of the Plague. But the reason I chose it for Nikki, who's done so much to enrich the life of our school and has been so resilient in the face of any setbacks, that she reminds me a lot of the main character, Anna, in this wonderful book by one of my favorite authors, Gwendolyn Brooks. Nikki, I got you The Year of Wonders by Gwendolyn Brooks, and I hope you recognize yourself in the title character. Not all plagues, of course, lead to death. And I wanted to get Lucy, who's a lovely writer, one of my favorite plague books, which doesn't wind up with people dying off from bubonic plague or something, but rather it's this city in which people are suddenly struck blind. The allegory is pretty obvious. There's one remaining sighted survivor who reminds me of Lucy, who obviously guides the rest. And it was just a really lovely book by the Nobel Prize winning Jose Saramago. Again, it hasn't arrived yet, should be here in a couple days, but it's called Blindness, and I hope you enjoy it, Lucy. And of course, the classic plague novel remains, one by another Nobel Prize winner. The Plague by Albert Camus. Despite its grim topic, its bubonic plague overruns a small Algerian town, Oran. It's brimming with humanity, decency, again, stoic perseverance, primarily in the central character of Dr. Ryu, who reminds me a lot of Gregor. And so, Gregor, I'm giving you Albert Camus' The Plague. I hope you enjoy it. There's actually a lot of hope to be found in the next Pulitzer Prize winning title. I don't want to focus just on disease, but also on cure. Claire spent a pretty transformational summer as a Pinhead intern in Seattle working with autistic kids. And her deep compassion for those kids and for others reminded me of the protagonist in this nonfiction book by Tracy Kidder, which traces the life of Dr. Paul Farmer, who's an infectious disease specialist who travels around the world basically doing good things, the kind of good things I've got no doubt that Claire will wind up doing. So Claire, I hope that his Farmer's work will inspire your own. This is Tracy Kidder's Mountains Beyond Mountains. Hope you enjoy it. The next book isn't necessarily a plague book, but it does involve the end of the world, almost. Kind of a spoiler there. The moon blows up in the opening sentence. There's a small roaming dark hole that just shatters it. It's by one of my all-time favorite current sci-fi novelists, Neal Stephenson. And because Rudy was, so enjoyed having him in my sci-fi class, I wanted to get him. This is, this guy is wicked smart. The title, Seven Eves, is itself a palindrome, gives you an idea. But the physics in this book, I mean, the story is gripping, but the physics are incredible. Stevenson's so smart. So all of you budding, physics majors out there, you ought to pick it up as well. But Rudy, enjoy Neal Stephenson's Seven Eves. Another denizen of our sci-fi class was Noah, who was terrific. A lot of fun to have. I think he enjoyed a lot of movies, especially those that were based on Philip K. Dick. So I really tried hard to find this terrific French biography called I'm Alive and You're Dead, a journey in the mind of Philip K. Dick, but unfortunately not print. So instead, Noah, I grabbed you a copy of Minority Report and Other Classic Stories by Philip K. Dick. Hope you enjoy them. And continuing on with sci-fi, Gary was in that class too. It's kicked to have as a student. So I got him, I know he's into computers, he's into, kind of hacking stuff. This is a wonderful novel about, it's about this young kid, computer hacker, real whiz at the, at computers, who gets caught up in this Russian mafia gang who's engaged in identity theft. And it's a thrilling book, real page turner, but it also is not just about identity theft. It's also about the very nature of identity. So Gary, unfortunately, it's coming a couple days. This is Dan Chone's wonderful novel, Await Your Reply. Hope you enjoy it. Earlier this year, when we were reading Angels in America, Beck was with a group of kids who did some research into the Mormon religion. Gave a great presentation. Mormonism figures pretty prominently in Kushner's play. So I wanted to give Beck a chilling book that will give him real insight into the history and contemporary state of fundamentalist Mormonism. This is by John Krakauer, who's better known for his adventure stories, Into the Wild, Into Thin Air. He's a terrific writer. A lot of this takes place right around our neighborhood, our neck of the woods. This is John Krakauer's really fascinating book, Under the Banner of Heaven, a story of violent faith. Beck, I hope you have fun with it. As I first discovered a while back, when I learned that Nick was a vlogger, he's a super cool guy, cool in the way that these slick, sophisticated, urban teenagers are in this book by a guy also named Nick, who wrote it when he was 17, believe it or not. So I hope you enjoy it. This is Nick McDonald's 12. I won't give anything away because some of the stuff's inappropriate, but I think you're gonna like it a lot, Nick. Have fun with it. I unfortunately never had a chance to have Arthur in class. And of course now he's gone with COVID-19. But I wanted to get, I guess I'll mail this to him. I want to get him a book. Traditionally I reach into my granddad's extensive collection for books for exchange students. This one is The Telluride Story by David Lavender. It's actually updated my father, another David Lavender, and it's A Tale of Two Towns. And I hope that it will give Arthur a chance to remember his time with us here. And while we're on my granddad's books, I picked another, not for another exchange student, but rather for somebody who's joined us pretty recently, but whose family has deep, deep roots in this area. And I'm hoping that Zach will enjoy this, which I think is my my granddad's far and away best book about this area back in the teens and 20s. I also want to give it Zach because his grandmother was a cherished friend of my granddad's, somebody who took him on, and occasionally me, on some pretty terrific treks up in her backcountry. This is David Lavender's One Man's West. Actually, again, it has an intro by my father and it's got an afterword by me. So, Zach, I hope you enjoy. Given Rowan's love of climbing, I want to get him a book about climbing, canyoneering, maybe Between a Rock and a Hard Place, or Wade Davis's terrific Mallory book, Into the Silence. But then Mrs. Lavender, who's an Irish immigrant herself, reminded me that Rowan's got his own Irish heritage, which he needs to learn more about. And what better way than through this really thrilling mystery set during one of the Irish famines. This is Rowan Joseph O'Connor's Star of the Sea. Hope you learn a lot about your heritage through this one. Owen is such a down-to-earth guy that, when I thought of his character, his lack of pretension, his easygoingness, his love of the West and the frontier, I decided to get him one of my favorite memoirs or biographies. This is by Louis L'Amour, who's known for writing pulp westerns, but this is terrific. It's Louis L'Amour's Education of a Wandering Man. And again, I think Owen will find much that resonates with him in this one. Garrett's pretty deeply invested in politics, international relations, and so this book was an easy one. This is a real guy's book, although I think women should read it as well. It's by Dexter Filkins, terrific writer and journalist who is the only person who covered both 9/11, all three actually, 9/11, the first invasion of Iraq, and the invasion of Afghanistan. It's war reporting at its absolute best, but it's his voice and his insights into geopolitics that I think Garrett's going to really enjoy. National Books Critics Award winner. This is Derek Filkins' The Forever War. Morgan Dahl is somebody who's faced a lot of challenges, and we so admire the way in which she's overcome them. So I wanted to get her a really wonderful, beautifully written love story that's also compromised by a single tragic misunderstanding. One of my current favorite authors, Ian McEwan's Atonement, a lovely novel. I hope you enjoy it. Neely has proved herself to be a pretty resilient young woman as well, not just when she's dropping big cliffs, but just in general. And so I wanted to get her one of these strong women books, but something that she'd really, really enjoy. This next title is by Marion Zimmer Bradley, and it's feminist literary revisionism at its best. This is a novel that retells the Arthurian legends from the point of view of the women, principally Morgana Le Fay and Guinevere. So Neely, I got you The Mists of Avalon, and I hope you have as much fun reading it as I did. I suspect that Emily, who was in my Bib Lit class, already knows what book I've gotten for her. Another book, another instance of really wonderful feminist revisionist literature. This tells a story from Genesis of Jacob and his 12 sons and his one daughter, Dinah, who's barely mentioned in the Bible, but who is at center stage at this really fun book. This is Anita Dement's The Red Tent. Emily, you've seen the movie, now read the book. Trust me, it's even better. Okay, I'm in a strong women mode, which is always good. And this next book is for Justine. And it, when I first started reading, I was a little suspect of bringing these Greek mythological figures to life. And then I met Circe, the title character, and of course, who in legend was exiled to that island. Justine went through a kind of exile of her own while on exchange in Poland. But this is just a rip-roaring good read. It's by Madeline Miller, and it's called Circe. And Justine, I hope you enjoy it. Of course, you're going to have really dynamic male protagonists too. And this next one, the hero of this next book really reminds me of Guillermo. It's like Oscar, Guillermo's vibrant, hilarious, always at the center of things. While this novel takes place in Puerto Rico and has a lot to do with Trujillo, the dictator there, it mostly takes place in New Jersey, and it's really a hilarious, vibrant account of being a Latino male in the U.S. This is Jiro Diaz's The Brief, Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde. And I hope you enjoy it, Jimo. I figured for Morgan Rogers, I go for a bit of escapism. This is a wonderful literary thriller set on the sumptuous Greek island. This kind of not that well-off kid is hanging with a bunch of uber-rich, people kind of like a Bin Laden dynasty, although they're all Greek shipping tycoons. There's drug running, there's murders, lots of fun, and really, really well written. This is Christopher Boland's The Destroyers. I hope you have fun with it, Morgan. Everyone knows that Kendall is an exceptional skier. So I could have easily gotten her a ski book. There's a new biography of Warren Miller I'm looking forward to read. But Kendall's also not just a long hauler. She's a second generation Telluridian who has deep roots in this landscape. And so I wanted to get her something that honors her, her kind of pioneer woman spirit. And so I got Pam Houston's new memoir called Deep Creek, Finding Hope in the High Country. It's set around here. I think she's just a terrific writer. And Kendall, I think you'll have fun with it. Ryder, too, has always struck me as kind of a Western guy. Real man's man with his application essays was a really wonderful piece on growing up on a ranch in Paonia. So I wanted to get him one of my all-time favorite Western sagas, multi-generational. The best part of this book is when the protagonist, was captured as a young boy by the Comanche and was raised by them. Ryder, this is Philip Meyer's book, The Sun, and I think you're in for a real treat. This next book was actually recommended to me a few years back by Max Walker Silverman. Took that with a grain of salt, but boy, am I glad I read this one. It's by turns hilarious and tragic. The narrator's dealing with diagnosis of a brain tumor, even while he's trying to help one of his best friends get pregnant. It elevates pop culture to the level of high art. The title is a stand-in for the position of the hands on the clock in the Back to the Future movies. This is Ben Lerner's really wonderful novel. Peter, I think you'll enjoy it. 10:04. Everyone knows that Cameron's a pretty hardcore gamer, but what a lot of people might not know is he's also a really fabulous writer. One of my big disappointments is that I wasn't able, Cameron, to work with you more often on your fiction. But I want to get you this very, very strange, but it's you can't put it down, novel by John Darnell about this old school gamer who devises this role-playing game called Trace Italian. It's actually played over the mail, and it gets very strange very fast, but we're in ways I think you'll find really interesting. Cameron, this is John Darnell's Wolf in White Van. I can't make any really obvious connections between Lindsay and this next novel, which is set among African natives in Botswana, where my daughter was spending a semester abroad when I first read it. But the reason I chose it is because the protagonist, Precious Romwitste, I can't pronounce the African name, is so down to earth, inquisitive, practical in her approach to life, and utterly charming that it put me in mind of Lindsay. Plus, it's just a really fun read. This is Alexander McCall Smith's The #1 Ladies Detective Agency, and I hope you have some fun with it, Lindsay. These next two books were actually recommended to me by Miss Joanna for two students. Unfortunately, I never had the chance to teach, Julio and Pedro, but whom we're all delighted to see make it across the graduation finish line. Both books are by Paulo Coelho. For Julio, it's El Alquimista, which is one of Mr. Jones's favorite books. And for Pablo Pedro, it's, I'm not gonna try, Manuel del, this is terrible, got Spanish grandkids, I can't even, Manuel del Guerrero de la Luz. Hope you boys both enjoy these. This, whoops, sorry, just got a phone call. Take a break here. Okay, sorry about that, Caden. This next book put me, Caden is quietly, produces this really exceptional work. I've always admired that about them. And this is a kind of an understated, slim novel, which is just lovely. By turns, again, humorous and tragic. It's about two young men who are, during the siege of Leningrad, given a reprieve from their death sentence if they can find a dozen eggs for this Soviet colonel's daughter's wedding cake. It's actually by David Benioff, who is currently, or was, one of the showrunners for Game of Thrones. No dragons here, just really good literature. Caden, this is David Benioff's City of Thieves. Cami is the sort of English student who sort of grudgingly does the analytical work, and it's always brilliant, but who actually really reads for pleasure. So I wanted to get her just a really, really good book. This is one of my favorites from a few years past. It's, again, a Booker Prize winner, a lovely, lovely love story, and a little bit about Japanese culture, not at its best. This takes place in part during in a Japanese prisoner of war camp. It's kind of a very high literary version of The Bridge over the River Kwai. Cami, I think you're going to love it. This is Richard Flanagan's The Narrow Road to the Deep North. Enjoy. Anybody who's seen Matthew on the riverbank, no matter what the season, rain, snow, hot weather, hitching up his waders, casting his line, knows what a great fisherman is. So this next book was kind of a no-brainer. This is probably the best book written about coming of age through fly fishing. This is David James Duncan's The River Wye. Matthew, you're going to love this. Want to hear back. Brenda thinks she doesn't like to write, and she's actually a superb writer. But I know that she loves to read. And so I wanted to introduce her to one of my all-time favorite Latina authors and one of my all-time favorite first novels. This is just 3 generations of terrific female characters, whom, Brenda, I think you're going to come to love in Isabel Allende's wonderful book, The House of the Spirits. Enjoy. Miriam has been such a wonderful addition to the class of 2020. She's worked so hard to make our culture more inclusive. I was thinking of a couple of books about social activism. And then, of course, I remember that she and Rafa love fantasy. Plus, I had a little inside scoop on the fact that Miriam's right now in the middle of a trilogy. I think this is the 3rd book. So I went ahead, bit the bullet, and got it for her. This is M.L. Foreman's Albrecht's Tomb. So I hope you haven't read this one yet, and I hope you enjoy it as much as you fairly enjoyed the first 2. Have fun with it, Miriam. I know that for a while, Wiley was thinking about following his sister back east to school, which would have been fine. But I was secretly relieved when he chose Colorado College, not just because it's a terrific school, but because Wiley is a Westerner. And, hang on, I'm interrupt here because I believe we have a visitor. Whoops. Okay, so we got Miss Kimball dropping in with some major announcements. I'll turn it over to her.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Lavender. I've got a long list of awards here for our students. So first up are our Distinguished Academic Program Awards, which include 3 levels of honors recognition. The purpose of these awards is to honor students who have worked hard to achieve their academic goals. The Distinguished Academic Program is for students who hold a 3.5 or higher, have completed multiple AP classes, and have met other academically rigorous requirements. They've gone the extra mile in their high school career. So first, I will announce students who will graduate cum laude. They will receive a gold cord that will be worn at graduation on Thursday. It's a GPA from 3.5 to 3.99. That is Carter Andrew, Kat Belode, Natalie Bowers, Caroline Lucarelli, Chloe Martelon, Garrett Pekala, Danica Pettit, Kendall Rufa, Justine Sherry, Linnea Taylor, Tommy Wells, and Johnny Wilcox.
Whoa, well done, guys.
Woo-hoo! Congratulations. Next is students who have earned a GPA of 4.0 to 4.19 will graduate magna cum laude and will wear a gold and white cord at graduation. That is Charlotte Botenhagen, Wiley Holbrook, Jesse Homan, Ambra Jacobson, Ryder Johnson, Bryce Lambert, Cami Mazaki, Samantha Morell, Sydney Murray, Greg Remick, Elena Scheibler, Claire Shaver, Peter Spencer, and Lucy Wesson.
Nice job, guys. That's great.
And then we have students who have earned a GPA of 4.2 or higher. They will graduate summa cum laude and will wear a gold and maroon cord at graduation. That is Nikki Borland, Thomas Hatcher, Josh Ives, and Jonah Jodlowski.
Great work, guys. Nice.
Congratulations. Our last cord up is the seal of biliteracy. So showing bilingual in 2 languages. That is a purple cord at graduation. Charlotte Botenhagen, Ambra Jacobson, Sydney Murray, Greg Remick, Elena Scheibler, Claire Shaver, Lucy Wesson, Thomas Hatcher, Josh Ives, Nada Guerrero, and Brenda Gutierrez.
Again, congratulations, guys. That's great.
And then I have a couple more here, Mr. Lavender. So next I have the Reagan Leadership Medal, and it is given by the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute to 1 student at each participating school across the nation. Students who are selected to receive the Reagan Leadership Medal exemplify the following attributes: drive, humility, and service before self. Recipients optimistically look ahead and pursue success with determination. They are rooted in their principles, values, and ethics. They possess a combination of altruism and empathy. They inspire others by demonstrating integrity and dependability and have a strong commitment to their community and country. The recipient of this year's Reagan Leadership Medal has all these qualities. She is a leader who inspires us and leads by example on the soccer field or in the orchestra pit for musicals. When she sees someone in need, she never hesitates to step up and help. She is always looking to give back, whether assisting with youth at her local church or working tirelessly behind the scenes to produce the student fashion show. And she has long volunteered with Telluride Adaptive Ski Program. It is my honor to award our Reagan Leadership Medal to Claire Shaver.
Congratulations, Claire. I wish we had a huge crowd for you.
Next, I'll recognize the salutatorian and co-valedictorians of the class of 2020. The distinction of salutatorian is given to the student who through 4 years of high school has earned the 2nd highest overall grade point average in the class, while the recognition of valedictorian goes to the student, or in this case, 2 students, with the overall highest grade point average in the class. These 3 individuals who are honored today will give a special speech in our class of 2020 movie. These students, all young men, chose to challenge themselves with our most rigorous curriculum, each taking between 10 and 12 AP courses over their high school career, and one even managed to do so despite spending a year abroad in Austria. They maintain top academic marks in each and every class. I am proud of these students and their numerous accomplishments. It is my privilege to announce the salutatorian for the class of 2020, Jonah Jodlowski. Jonah will be attending Vanderbilt. Yes, congrats, Jonah. And I am likewise honored to announce our co-valedictorians, Thomas Hatcher, who will matriculate at Stanford University in Palo Alto, and Josh Ives, who will be attending Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh.
Great job, guys. Congrats. Oops, you froze. Okay, we're gonna pause this. Okay, Ms. Kimball's back.
I'll pick up before Zoom kicked me out. Let me see. So lastly, we come to the Principals Awards. For these awards, I take nominations from the faculty and select 1 male and 1 in academics and who showed commitment to community and respect for others. It is not an easy decision to make, as I feel so many of our students embody the qualities we look for. But the 2 students I chose go above and beyond in almost every capacity. Both students have challenged themselves academically, are involved in the community, and always show respect and kindness. First, our female recipient is a natural-born leader. When I think of her, I think of the Minor Way: integrity, responsibility, and respect on steroids. She is kind and has a strong ability to inspire those around her, be it through her state student council position or in our Box Canyon. We are proud of her academic achievements, 9 AP classes, a role model to my daughter, and I am honored to present this year's Female Principals Award to Nikki Borland.
Hey, Nikki, nice job.
Way to go, Nikki. Our male student is equally as stellar. Whether announcements during the quarantine, dominating the soccer field, or flipping on the ski hill, or smiling in the hallways, he's best in everything he does. Most recently, I was impressed in a scholarship interview when he educated the interview committee on his goal of making everybody feel welcome at Telluride High School. He defines perseverance and has taken one of the most rigorous course load our school offers, including 10 advanced placement courses. He is our salutatorian. By now, you know our Male Principals Award goes to Jonah Jodlowski.
Congratulations, Jonah. Miss Kimball, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Lavender.
Take care.
I look forward to watching your presentation.
Okay, wow, congratulations to all you guys. Pretty impressive, pretty impressive. So Wiley, we were talking about you. We are talking about Colorado College. Why I was so happy. It's because, Wiley, you are a Westerner. You are bone deep in this landscape. I love that about you. And so I wanted to give you, people always ask, what's your favorite, top 10, top 20 novels? This is one of my all-time favorite. Beautiful, beautiful book. Wonderful multi-generation saga about life here in the West by one of my favorite authors. This is Wallace Stegner's Angle of Repose. I know you'll enjoy it. So Christian, this next book, one of the blurbs on the cover describes as unique, audacious, wonderfully wild. So it put me in mind of you right off the bat. Frankly, I find the author / narrator of this thinly described memoir to be pretty insufferable. But the book, you can't stop reading it. It moves from Bombay. It's set in India. Moves from Bombay slums to prostitution dens to, India mafiosi. It's a really fun read. It's by Gregory David Roberts, and it's called Shantaram. And I hope it inspires more adventures of your own, Christian. Tyler just finished up sci-fi with me. It was not quite as much fun, not as many movies, seeing how we were Zooming all the time. But I wanted to get her, I felt badly that we didn't read, as I had planned to, more female authors. And so I wanted to make sure Kyla got this wonderful sci-fi. This is, kind of like The Handmaid's Tale in 1984. It's by this woman who won one of the MacArthur Genius Grants, Octavia Butler, and it's called Parable of the Sower. And it's for you, Kyla. Enjoy. Bryce is clearly a STEM kind of guy, somebody who needs to be nudged to now and then read a book. So I wanted to get him something I know he'd enjoy. This is one of my favorite books from 2 summers ago. A really rip-roaring read, as it says on the cover, wickedly entertaining. It's set in a, gosh, it's hard to describe. It takes place in this elaborate remote community that's actually a witness protection place, and it just takes off from there in pretty wonderful ways. I hope you share it with your dad, Bryce. This is Adam Sternberg's terrific novel, The Blinds. Hope you have fun reading it. Obviously, when it came to Shannon, I was thinking, running. And I was all set to get a book that I'm actually giving to somebody else when I learned that during, while she was sheltering in place, Shannon, I have it on good authority, really enjoyed the new film version of Call of the Wild and wanted to read the book. So I said, aha, Shannon, here it is. Jack London's Call of the Wild. I think you'll find it better even than the movie. At least I hope you do. In addition to COVID-19, one of the big disappointments this past year was that I never got to teach London Albrecht, but I know that London is all about everything with 2 wheels. And so I wanted to get him this book, which is not just a fantastic chronicle of the cultural history of the bicycle, but also kind of a memoir about this guy who's setting out to build the perfect bike. This is called, it's by Robert Penn, it's called It's All About the Bike, The Pursuit of Happiness on 2 Wheels, London. I hope you find a lot of happiness reading this. I want to be sure to get Toe a book that acknowledges his deep love of the outdoors, his love of snow in particular. And so I got this, another novel. This is another thinly disguised memoir about a young man homesteading in Alaska with his family. Given his love for all things having to do with snow, I figured Toe would enjoy this really fascinating novel about the upper reaches of Alaska. This is Seth Cantor's exploration of the intersection between the wild world and encroaching consumer culture. Seth Cantor. It's called Ordinary Wolves. I think you'll howl with delight. Given Chloe's obsession with all things Hamilton, you can read her great piece in the senior insert. I thought about actually getting her Ron Cherno's great biography, but then I thought, maybe she's read it. And then I thought, what's Chloe? She's deep into life in a ski town. Her father, does the marketing and whatnot. And so I thought this is a really wonderful novel about a ski town. It actually takes place in Breck, not here in Telluride. It's by the guy who wrote that wonderful Hawaii book, The Descendants. This is just as good. It's by Kawhi Hart Hemmings, and it's called The Possibilities, which of course are endless for you, Chloe. Danica's a warrior. We all know that. I mean, in addition to, her amazing accomplishments, extracurriculars, all her contributions to our school, she's also steeped herself in martial arts, principally Chinese. I was thinking of some Murakami, but then this book is so much fun. It's long. It's a fat book. This will be good summer reading. This is a lot of fun. It takes place in Japan, not China. It's, I think, 16th, maybe 17th century Japan. Long saga. Lots of fascinating stuff. Lots of great martial arts, and of course, a wonderful love story. This is James Clavell's Shogun, and I hope you enjoy it. Ellen is such a great and appreciative, sensitive reader that I could have picked any number of literary novels for. In fact, I had some in mind. But then I read her piece, which will be in the senior insert, about her goals, about her aspirations to become a ultra marathoner, a trail runner, and thinking of my sister, who's also a running coach and a really wonderful writer. I got her. This is Sarah Lavender Smith's The Trail Runner's Companion, which I'll admit has a lot of really terrific tips about endurance running. But what I love about it are the anecdotes she tells. And Elena, I hope you enjoy them too. For the past couple of years, Josh has, run Knowledge Bowl meetings in my classroom, which has been great. But I've noticed that lately, not long before the shutdown, he and Carter started playing Go all the time, which is a great game if you don't know it. And so, it's a game about strategic philosophy as much as anything. And so I wanted to get what is in my mind this writer's best and final novel. It's about elite members of 23rd century society who attempt to master this game that requires a synthesis of aesthetics and philosophy, and it seems right up Josh's alley. So, Josh, for you, I selected Hermann Hesse's The Glass Bead Game, also known as Magister Ludi. Hope you have fun with it. Like many of us, Lily has encountered challenges not of her own making and overcome them wonderfully. This next beautiful, beautiful book is tragic in almost a Shakespearean scale. It's 3 separate narratives surrounding this one woman character whom I love. Everybody's wrong, but nobody's really wrong. And it's a beautifully written book. Lily, I hope you enjoy this National Book Award finalist. This is by Andre Dubus third rather, sorry. It's called The House of Sand and Fog. Enjoy. I love it when I stumble upon a, can't put it down thriller of a book from which I also learn a ton. This next writer is a great writer. I'm giving away one of his other books as well. This is actually the second book in a trilogy. I wound up reading all 3. I like them that much. I think actually 2, 3, 1 is a better order. Just Rock. But Rock, this is a terrific characters. You can learn a ton about current immigration law, the U.S. war on drugs, and just a rip-roaring thriller. This is Don Winslow's The The Cartel. And I hope you enjoy it. Johnny's developed a really deep interest in economics and financing. In fact, he wrote one of his application essays was about spending his downtime on a fishing trip, reading thick tomes about finances. And so I wanted to get him what I think is just a fabulous novel about this. It gives you real insight into the 2008 financial crash from the perspective of a young, ambitious, ethical investment banker who gets kind of sucked in to this, the speculative climate leading up to the bank crashes of 2008. Plus, you get to learn all about the ins and outs of quant financing. Johnny, it hasn't come in yet, but you're going to get Adam Hazlitt's book, Union Atlantic. I hope you enjoy it and learn a lot from it. I want to find Miriam a book that would distract her not just from our current pandemic, but from her long-standing health struggles. This was actually recommended to me by Ms. Proud. It's a big, sprawling book, thick, but it reads like a shot. Multi-generational family saga that starts off in the hills of Mexico during Pancho Villa's revolution, winds up in California during the Prohibition. It's a wonderful book by Victor Villaseñor, and it's called Miriam, Reign of Gold, and I hope you enjoy it. I just want to get Deanna a good read, and I know a lot of you have read this and enjoyed this next novel. It's a wonder. It's full of wisdom about life. It's a wonderful story about mothers and daughters and the generally transformational power of love. And this is Sue Monk Kidd's first novel, The Secret Life of Bees. Deanna, I hope you enjoy it. Anybody who heard Charlotte Belthider's solos in Les Mis knows that this girl can sing. So I want to get her my favorite novel about singing. This involves an opera star who's hired to perform at a Japanese businessman's birthday party in an unnamed South American country, which is stormed by terrorists. And it's amazing the bonds that start to form between the terrorists and their hostages. Just really, really lovely characters. This is Ann Patchett's Bel Canto, and I hope you enjoy it. One of Tommy's application essays was a really well executed piece about getting caught inside at a huge break in Costa Rica. Really fun reading in 650 words. So I wanted to get him one of my favorite surf books. This is also by Don Winslow. He's an author I've really come to enjoy. Very literary kind of thrillers. This is about a private investigator, surfer, bum. Real fun story. It's again by Don Winslow. This is called The Dawn Patrol, and I hope you enjoy its swells, Tommy. This book was such a surprise. Very small, very slight novel set on the eastern plains of Colorado. That is just incredibly moving, haunting. In fact, it's full of ghosts. It's about a young woman like Linnea, who's getting ready to leave a small town, head off to college. Yeah, it's just a terrific read. And I always read acknowledgments. I know most people don't, but I was really surprised that this woman said she was grateful for my granddad's book, Ben's Fort. Anyway, it's a lovely, lovely tale, Linnea. I hope you enjoy it. This is Barney Nadzam's beautiful book, Lions. I thought, given her love of the Southwest, again, read her piece in the senior insert, her love of the desert, that Natalie was going to be the easiest person to pick a book for. And I actually picked out Edward Abbey's wonderful classic, Desert Solitaire. But then I saw that she quoted from it in her essay that's in the insert. So I figured, okay, she's probably read. I'll have to hear something else. And I thought, well, she likes to hit the road. Who better than Jack Kerouac, the hipster beat author whose work is a lot of fun. Couldn't decide, Natalie, on the road or the Dharma Bums. They're both terrific. So I'll give you both. You used copies anyway. Enjoy them on your next road trip. I must have been 17 or 18 when I first read this book. I was totally blown away. In fact, it's one of the books that made me want to become an English major. I picked it for Thomas, because I know his appreciation for great fiction. This is a really, really terrific novel, but also because one of his application essays he wrote um, included a very moving account of encountering during his time abroad in Austria the echoes of fascism. This book actually takes place in Poland. Um, Oscar, the central character, is amazing. I'll stop there. It's a wonderful book about the power of humanity to overcome, the terrors of fascism. This is not the book because it hasn't come yet. This is another pretty good book by Günter Grass, a Nobel Prize winner. The one I'm getting for you, Thomas, is called The Tin Drum. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did back when I was your age. Given his love of computer programming and his interest in linguistics and philosophy, I've been trying to get Carter to read this book for a long time. So I just give it to him. This is one of my all-time favorite books. Wonderful mixture of highbrow and lowbrow. This is the guy who invented the term avatar. He came up with this thing called the metaverse before the internet was really a thing. It's got hackers who are both computer programmers and samurai swordsmen. It's a crazy good novel. I hope you enjoy this classic by Neal Stephenson, Carter, Snow Crash. Everybody knows how much Jessie loves nature. She and Claire actually took a terrific trip to, a bunch of national parks in the Pacific Northwest. I mentioned this book to Jessie already. I think she knows I'm probably going to get it for her. It is the best book I read last summer. Was blown away. It was actually put off because the cover's not that great. It's a sprawling novel, which is remarkable most for the way in which it decenters humanity and allows us, as crazy as it sounds, to kind of understand the life of trees. Won the Pulitzer Prize this year. This is Richard Powers' The Overstory. And Jessie, I think you're going to love it. Like everyone in your generation, Kat is, facing, the specter of, of climate change and, environmental degradation, and is very active and responsive. So I wanted to get her, a more lighthearted, although deeply serious, really fun book. This is a novel that has three narrative strands, each of which concern, the idea of waste, both literal and metaphorical. It's got some funny parts, and I know Kat likes to laugh. So again, another generic book. Sorry, it's coming in. Should be here tomorrow or the next day. This is Jonathan Miles from the terms, or from the old phrase, "Waste not, want not." This is his terrific novel, Want Not, and I hope you enjoy it. Wow, 2 generic books in a row. Sydney, you are such a political junkie that I really wanted to get you Primary Colors, given your background as a Senate page, working with DNC. It's a wonderful, hilarious account, insiders or behind the scenes account of, or fictionalized, of Bill Clinton's first run at the presidency. But unfortunately, it's out of print. And then I decided when I heard Mitch McConnell comment on how, well, who cares about the pandemic? Just let the states go broke. I thought immediately of Naomi Klein, brilliant woman, great political analyst, her incisive book about how a bunch of neocons have used the free market as a means of coercion. So this is Naomi Klein's, sorry, again, generic book, but it'll be in tomorrow, I hope. It's The Shock Doctrine, and it's subtitled The Rise of Disaster Capitalism. It was written back in 2006, 2007, just before the 2008 crash, but I think it's very relevant today, and I hope you love it. Mo Hanna did not like this next book. I absolutely loved it. Yes, it is kind of a thinly disguised fictionalization of a kind of a Manson family-like clan. And actually, I think it pulls that off really well. But what I love about it is the insight it gave to me into the adolescent female mind. This is about some wild young women really beautifully, beautifully written book. It's by Emma Klein, who's one of my current favorite authors, and it's called The Girls. And I picked it out for Grace. I hope you enjoy hanging with these girls as much as I've enjoyed having you as a student. This is a tough one. I've watched Caroline, my neighbor, grow from this, this little gangly girl to this wonderfully dynamic young woman who's contributed so much to your class. And all along the way, the one thing that seems to have been central to her life, in addition to ski racing, has been horses. So Caroline, I'm giving you my favorite book about horses and one of my all-time favorite books. Also, it's got a terrific love story in it. But the way this guy writes about horses, you're going to be blown away. This is Cormac McCarthy's All the Pretty Horses. I hope you love it as much as I did. This next book is for Samantha. It's another one of the rare nonfiction title. I've actually got to look at my notes because I have not read this one yet, but it's the top of my my summer reading list. I read a terrific review of it at the Atlantic or New York or somewhere. But because Samantha is so passionate about psychology and neuroscience, I immediately thought I ought to set this book aside for Samantha. I'm looking forward to it. It's called, Samantha, Sex, Hysteria, and the Riddle of Mental Illness, How the Brain Lost Its Mind. It's actually about a syphilis outbreak early in the 20th century. So Samantha, read it, enjoy it, learn lots about psychology and mental illness. Okay, we're getting there. This next book is, again, you all should read most of these books. They're terrific. But this one, oh my gosh, it's another Booker Prize winner. Read it a couple of summers ago. This is an amazing book, fat tour de force. This is for Jonah, recipient of the Principal Award. Congrats. This is by Marlon James, and it's a very complex, very challenging, but very rewarding novel. It's got multiple first-person narratives. It's got everything from CIA, Cold War stuff to to ghosts, but it all centers around an attempted assassination back, I think, in 1976 on Bob Marley. And this is Marlon James's excellent book, A Brief History of 7 Killings. Hope you enjoyed as much as I did, Jonah. And finally, I saved this next book for last, for Ambra, not because she's the best for last, but just to get revenge for her drenching me with her super soaker or whatever during the senior parade. Seriously, this is a lovely book. When I read this book, I actually could picture Ambra as part of this wonderful milieu. It takes place in it's right after the Nazi invasion of France, and it concerns getting a group of artists and intellectuals, people like Marc Chagall and Hannah Arendt, and smuggling them out of France. And the protagonist in this is based on a real character. Is brilliant. Plus, it's actually written by a good friend of mine. We were at the Iowa Writers Workshop together. Ambra, for you, I've picked The Flight Portfolio by Julie Oranger. And that, as they say, is about it. Thanks for sitting through this if you have. Again, I apologize for not being able to do this in the poem. I miss giving a handshake or a hug or both to each of you. But this is, it is what it is. Words of advice for the future. I've got 3 of them. Read, read, read. You guys are a terrific class. Hope you share all these books. You take care.